Welcome to the Edifice Complex, the property design and development podcast. Let your hosts Adam Muggleton and Robert Bean keep you up with who is innovating and doing great work, perspective on the adjacent possible, and challenges to the status quo.
Welcome to the Edifice Complex. I'm Robert Bean, your co-host, unofficial mediator, here with my colleague, official agitator, friend, and Yoda of most everything to do with buildings, Mr. Adam Muggleton. Say hello, sir.
Hello. Agitated, yes.
Well, we've been talking earlier today, politics and economics, and so you're a bit wound up today. So I might have to intervene, actually, calm you down. But hey, listen. So back for an encore. Friend of the show is managing director of Edge Sustainability Consulting from Vancouver, British Columbia, Eoghan Hayes. Listen, we first invited him on the show because you and Adam, you and Eoghan broke bread. I think it was at Cobalt Engineering. Is that right?
Yep. It's the first time I met Owen was at Cobalt when we worked together, and then last time I saw you was about a year ago in Oakville.
That's right. Yeah, we met up. Yeah, we're headed over to our Toronto office and had a lovely bit of dinner over by your house there in Oakland.
Yeah, so that's that was the first reason why we had him on. And the second reason we had him on is because he had this Gaelic name that you couldn't actually pronounce if you actually did it phonetically, because it's spelled Eoghan. And as it turns out, it's rooted in Irish history and linked to the yew tree, is at least what I could find, which is a symbol of longevity, regeneration, and nobility. You probably knew that, Eoghan. I don't know.
I think my wife sent me something to that effect for a birthday one year. So yeah.
So fittingly, in the last, I don't know when it was, but you were getting really philosophical. So that's why we wanted to get you back on a second time, because you posted this phrase, "It's the duty of the present to tell the stories of the past to the ears of the future." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's from a book by Brent Popplewell. Outsider. So it was about this ultra marathon runner who lives in Vernon, BC. Which we actually have a hospital up there. So I was asking the locals about this guy, Dave. He lives up there in a bus, and he's 84, 85 years old. He does the Alberta Debt Race every year, and just that was one of the quotes. He has a quote at the start of each chapter. And that was one of the quotes that really kind of resonated with me, just because, we're getting older now in the industry, 20 years. And, kind of you shift your perspective from, okay, it's not my duty to just try and grab anymore. It's like, okay, you now have to pass the knowledge on to the next generation.
Well, and that's exactly why when I saw you post that, I thought, Owen's getting philosophical. He's
getting old.
He's getting old. That's it.
Yeah.
So that means he's since the last time we had John was 5 years ago, you've learned a ton of shit. So what have you been doing? What's new? What's happening?
Lots of healthcare projects, lots of residential projects. Our Toronto office opened since then as well. So we've got 2 or 3 folks over there. So that's been great. The company's been growing but growing organically, I'd say, so which is good. So a lot of repeat clients that we just have a really good relationship with, and we understand each other's dynamics and can help one another out. And just been a great journey. We've also added a mechanical engineering division as well. So I don't know if he was there when you were there, Adam. John Burke joined us. So
I remember that name. Yeah.
Yeah, very good mechanical engineer. So we've got some residential work on the go, like towers. We're still busy despite the market being, in a bit of a downturn at the moment, which is interesting to see. We keep hearing about this. There's things have slowed down, but we're not seeing it, which is, knock on wood, is great. So, just been a bit of an adventure. So kind of 5 years ago, we just had landed New St. Paul's Hospital. So we've been working on a ton of healthcare projects since then, and we're just about, I don't want to say it too soon, achieve an energy target on Hospital Up North. And the client on that one, there was a penalty of $4.7 million if they didn't hit their energy and their carbon target. So they're just about to get that release. So we were energy babysitting for the past year in our hospital, which was great. We weren't
awesome.
Originally on the project for energy modeling, but we set up all the M&V and the metering. Worked with the FMO team there. They were brilliant. Modern Niagara and their team there. And, just through the people that we work with, our analysis and, basically weekly meetings, setting up like good data, I suppose, trends and graphs that's easy for people to understand, because that's the other thing with our industry. It's very complex, and we as engineers don't tend to present information in a way that's digestible to the wider audience. So set up a a really good dashboard. That's, I hate that word dashboard. We'll get back to that later on, but that's actually useful, and that really made a big impact to that facility hitting its energy target. So it's always good to see those big wins, because you think energy modeling is just energy modeling, but when you do energy modeling, design, M&V, commissioning, you kind of need it all together to hit the targets.
Yeah, we could go so many directions with this conversation, because it's been 5 years, and lots has happened in your life, not only in terms of what you're doing, but you've had some changes corporately. You've brought in some people to take care of some things. So we could have an entire discussion about transition planning for engineering firms, which I think is most engineers, that's something they come across. It's not part of their DNA. They're very much the technician. They like to do the work, but then there's the business side of it, right? And that's, just as challenging. And but you've managed to make that bridge. So we could talk about that, and I think we should, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
But also talk about some of the things that, in terms of the projects that you are working on, some of the challenges, and maybe some of the rubs that are occurring between, messaging. There's a lot of different messages happening out there in your world right now, and some of them are true. Many of them aren't.
So let's double click on the transition sort of like business growth side for quick, because we do get a bit nerdy before we go down the nerd rabbit hole. I felt old when we started this thing, because I remember when you were like new, right? You were like a young guy.
Yeah, still had the bubble wrap on.
20 years later, you've got your own firm, right? So, that's a good journey. So the thing I think with engineers, I think all engineering firms struggle with is like, but you're a great engineer, and you become a team leader and a divisional director, and you have your own firm, right? And running a great team or a division or a firm has absolutely nothing to do with your engineering ability whatsoever. Right? So, how have you handled that? Because growth, again, businesses need to grow, they need to manage cash, they need to present themselves. How are you dealing with that in your firm?
Yeah, that's a great question. The main thing would be just being yourself, being honest, being true, not trying to jump around and try and replicate other corporations, because sometimes you hear that information, especially when you have new people that join, like, oh, we did this at my company, and it's, you don't want to be copying off someone else's, blueprint, if you will, but just sticking to your own kind of guns and growing organically, I think, is the big thing. So I think companies kind of tend to lose who they are as people as they grow bigger, and it's trying to hold on to that culture and your core values as you grow is really important. So our core values are people, quality, trust, innovation, and clarity. So it's really important. Before we brought in, Jason and those folks, we had to kind of get together, and I was scrambling with our current group that we had to sum up in 4 or 5 words as to who we are. So the core values were really important to that growth, and then who we were, because as much as I didn't appreciate core values when we were at Cobalt.
So that's a very Cobalt thing, right?
I thought that was very like, oh, whatever, we don't care. They do tend to be important, to kind of ground you in what's important to you as a company as you kind of grow. And particularly just to help out with conversations as you grow as well. It's like, well, if you're going through something that's tough or hard, or you're coming towards a scenario where you're like, okay, what should I do here? You always have those 5 core values to kind of, fall back on and say, okay, is it aligned with who we are? And then we revisit the core values every year with Jason, our CEO, and the group, and say, okay, are they still valid? Are we still, staying true to those core values as we grow as a company? So really, that's been kind of instrumental in the growth, and that comes across in our work, to our clients, to our people. and yeah, it just kind of keeps you grounded and true to what you want to achieve in the first place.
You're right. Core values. I used to have that reaction to core values. It sounds like I'm going to have a candle shop and have lots of baths with candles and crystals. Right?
Yeah, absolutely, Adam.
Yeah, basic bitch stuff, right? But
yeah, take the box. Yeah, exactly.
Big but there, right?
Yeah,
but if you have a set of core values and principles, they wind up emerging in culture. And if you hire people who share them, mostly, it's never an exact science, right?
No, exactly. It doesn't mean that you're there. You're doing them day to day. That you're not perfect. It's just like that's what you aspire to be.
Yeah. And if everyone's this is why relationships work and don't work. I've come to realize I've got older. You can differ on things, but as long as your core values are essentially the same, you're good, right?
Absolutely.
That's it. And that was the power of them, at the time. And it's like most things, I got a degree in retrospective engineering. I look back and think, oh, that's how that's supposed to work.
It works. Yeah.
Well, and it becomes basically your navigation system for your business, really is what these become. And when I took a business course at the U of C, and it was a 6-month business owner transition program, and you had to own your own business. And you were in the process of growing it, and it was tough. I mean, we went to school Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and then Tuesdays, Thursdays we operated our businesses, and then Sunday we tried to take the day off. You know how that works. But part of that, the first 3 months was about business planning. And it was very much based on military systems. So we talked about tactics and strategies and missions and goals and all of these things. But ultimately, putting that into place gave us a really good perspective of who we were as a company, the people we wanted to hire, and the decisions that we wanted to make. And ultimately, we ended up growing that company and then selling it. But had we not had that, we probably would have wandered a bit, I would say. So, So for you,
sorry.
That's personally, tough, when you had to make some big decisions about do I want to be the technician in the business or do I want to be the business side of the business? Because as you grow, you realize you can't be both.
Yeah, I think that's why we got Jason involved as well. It's like, because I'm still involved very much in the day to day and running models. Because I found with my previous companies I worked with, the more the higher up the ladder you got, the more disconnected from the work and the day to day you got as well. So it's important to have a mix of both. So I still go out do a lot of the drinking and the socializing and meeting with clients, but also still maintaining your engineering brain and still learning new things and coming up with innovative ways to do things as well. So definitely I'm not just I'm over to the BD side but I'm not, sitting at a desk or in a corner crunching numbers, but doing both because particularly on the healthcare projects, you kind of need that mix, I find, to really bring value and deliver innovation to projects, because a lot of it is people management and forming relationships with the folks on site. You can't do that if you're, sitting in the corner guy just crunching out numbers. But then you also can't be in a room with those folks if you're not technically good and competent when you're trying to drive innovation and solutions, because they need to be able to trust what you're saying. And you also need to be able to listen to them and get their feedback on things that may become barriers to what you're trying to implement. So if you don't have that kind of perfect balance between both, then you're not going to get the best solution for your client and for the project as well.
Look, just to sort of acknowledge you, Mark, I see you, right? Just to acknowledge you, right? Most small businesses remain small businesses because they can't get out of their own way, right? So, you're an engineer, you're good at your job, I want to start my own shop, you start your own shop, and you want to do the engineering work, but you have taken the step to bring in a CEO, right?
That's right, yeah, Jason.
You've effectively got out of your own way. You've worked out what you don't like doing or what you suck at, and you bring someone else in to do that. Do you know how few people can actually do that?
Yeah.
It is astonishing to me how difficult people find it to do that. So well done on that, man. Absolutely top move.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Yeah, I did, but it's not something you think about. It's just something. What's best for the business?
Yeah.
As it grows, and bringing in a CEO like Jason is what's best for the business at that moment in time for sure. And he adds so much value from his experience because he's in the industry the same amount of time as I am, but just he went through a different path than I did. So having someone there with that experience and with that different path is really critical, because no one wants to keep on listening to the same person over and over and just having the same perspective, right? You need kind of someone.
That's called a circle jerk, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's great for the office as well, because I don't know, back in the day, it was, if partners disagreed, it was seen as a bad thing. But like, we disagree all the time on things, right? So even John as well. So myself, John, and Jason, like, we're all constantly disagreeing about things, and we're not aligned on certain technologies and certain ways of doing things. But that's good. I think that was a bit of a shock to the staff as well, because we're like, well, Owen told me this, and Jason told me this, and John told me that, and I'm like, well, yeah. There's all different perspectives. You're an engineer. You're gonna
and everything else. Yeah.
What else?
You're gonna have to come up with your own way of doing things and your own style. And I think that's something that, as we grew and the processes we set in place, they've been good for quality. But we also need to be cognizant of people over relying on them and then not critically thinking themselves.
When I saw you bring in a CEO, I knew you were going to be successful at that point. That was a difference maker. That is a change. What people don't understand is CEOs are hired help, right?
I don't know if Jason sees it that way, but yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah. But everyone, CEO's a boss. No. Right? You're hired. You're an employee. You serve at the pleasure of the owners, and if you don't move the needle, quite frankly, it's like, see ya.
Yeah, no, true. Actually, yeah, for a typical CEO, that's what they're brought in to do, is to shake up the business and make it grow. And Jason's definitely done that for sure. And having someone with his knowledge and experience and Rolodex as well has been very beneficial.
Yeah, no, I think get it. Yeah, sorry, go.
Yeah, no, I think one of the benefits is that you brought him in at a time where he can still be part of the culture as it develops. Because a lot of companies grow, they bring in a CEO, they're so detached from the origins, they don't even know what the DNA of the company is all about. And I got to tell you, like, just my experiences is that's when you start getting rotation of higher executive teams. Every couple of years they're gone because they've been so out of touch with the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was why it was so important to get the core values nailed down before we had that hire. But Jason's with us just over 2 years now, and he's been a very valuable member of the team, and also been able to shape things and culture, things that I just wouldn't have thought of, right? So the living wage, if we're now part of that, we want to get certified B as a corporation as well, and just other day-to-day things with regards, setting up weekly meetings and setting up edge days, so where we all come together and spend a day with each other and brainstorm and do some fun activities, and that's been instrumental in really growing the culture and growing the company as
that's good. SEAL team of you.
It's been brilliant. Been quite the adventure.
So before we move into Nerdland, what's your your sort of like view of the state of play of the market? Now, where I am at the moment in Ontario, the condo market's crashed by 35%. The housing market, since I last met you, I've moved house. I moved to Ancaster, just outside Toronto, because I was stalking this house. The guy overdeveloped it. He overstretched himself, and I got it for steal. And I just crashed the local market where I was so I could move. But house prices are down, I'd say 24%, 25%. So Vancouver is like the king of the condo market, right? What's it like out there?
Yeah, we've been lucky. The market is not good out here, is what we're hearing. We've been lucky from a business perspective, insofar as the clients we have, they're not relying on the land to develop. So they're not financing the land. They kind of already have the land. So I think that's a big difference. Like I think I met a guy from RBC, and he was like, you're dealing with tier 1 developers. So they're the ones that, it's a long-term play. It's a 20-year.
So they got land banks, they got existing properties, right?
Yeah, they're not going to overstretch themselves. So they're slower, but they're still going ahead with projects, because I think they still need to move as a company and as an organization. The healthcare sector has ramped up when the residential sector has been going down. So there's a ton of healthcare projects that came online, which we were fortunate to get. One of them went on hold at the moment, so we'll see if that comes back. But then we've got another one that we're bidding out in Ontario at the moment. Can't say which one that is. So we're going for that one too, and then a couple in the interior that we're working on too. So we've been lucky as a company insofar as we've been a little bit more insulated than probably most as to what's going on in the market. Department of National Defence is coming out with a lot of projects as well. So hoping to see if we can get involved in some of that work. We're looking at some work in the Middle East. So Matt, one of my business partners, he worked in the Middle East for a couple of years, and we did actually work in the Middle East before. So that might be an option as well. So looking at that. And then retrofits. So we're helping a lot of projects now, retrofits, like healthcare retrofits as well. So that market is kind of keeping us, stable as well. So thankfully, we were heavy into the residential side of things, but as that kind of dropped off, the healthcare kind of ramped up,
Right.
Yeah.
That's going down. I think the retrofit market for me would be the most appealing because there's so much existing building stock, right? That's not working well. Let's be that'd be nice. It's not working well. It's most of it.
Yeah, and it's such a specialized market to get into.
Yeah.
Like after I left Cobalt and went to work for Phoenix, like that retrofit we done at 777 Dunsmuir, where we decarbonized an office by like 80% by installing with Geo and then recovering heat from the retail space. Those opportunities are everywhere, Adam. It's just a matter of trying to get in there and convince them to do it. And I think that had like a 6 or 7 year payback for Cadillac Fairview, and it's still working today. I was actually at a Greenbuild event last June, and they were doing another retrofit of one of their other towers, and it seemed like that was a bit more involved than what we did, because I call that one a ninja retrofit. So we were just down in the basement drilling away, and
that's where they had that proprietary drilling thing we could drill in the car park, right?
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, it was brilliant, and all our work was in the mechanical room, so we didn't disturb any of the tenants, which is actually key for.
That's the developer's dream, right? The tenants
it's just like you don't even know you're doing it. You're just down there, not disturbing your tenants and doing your thing, which is just a great project, and very proud of that one. But yeah, I just think the way the market's going now, I think a lot of folks are trying to give information away for free. I heard of one company that's given away like residential retrofit decarbonization reports for free or for very little money. And I'm like, well, okay, that's going to be the same as every other 3,000 reports that have been done before. That's just going to sit on a desk and gather dust, right? Trying to get a retrofit project is not about doing a study. It's about forming the relationship with the owner, with the client, with their FMO team, getting in there and actually talking to them and coming up with innovative solutions based on the site constraints and what you have, not trying to throw a million things through a AI generated tool and spitting out a report and say, there you go, do that, right? So I think that's where we fundamentally differ with a lot of folks in the industry. It's like they forgot about the people part of what they're actually trying to retrofit. So
yeah.
Get back to fundamentals again, right?
Yeah, exactly, Robert. Yeah, because there's things that you see on site that you're just not gonna see in a model or on a set of drawings that you don't realize that you have potential to, and just having conversations with the FMO folks and with the owners can bring about new opportunities that you wouldn't have realized if you weren't actually properly interacting with them,
Yeah.
Let's talk about how energy modeling fits in with that. So back in the day when I first knew you, energy modeling mostly, certainly where we were working, was like lead compliance modeling, and a lot of people doing that had no idea about the systems modeling, right? Now you're what I call a proper
Still don't.
modeler. You're an engineer.
Yeah, Robert. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're an engineer who can do the modeling, right? That is actually still, I think, reasonably unusual. Would you agree with it?
Yeah, to my amazement, because that's why we started Edge, years ago. Because you're right, Adam. Like there was the modeling team, there was a design team. The modelers don't understand design don't understand energy. Yeah. The designers are designing for energy efficiency when they have no idea what like a model is, and then they've got the modelers who are designing for energy efficiency and they have no idea what the design is. So I just can't believe to this day, it still exists. It blows my mind,
It's mental, because I think that's the niche you're in, right? Which is like we're bringing you real engineering that we can model and give you some level of, there's no definites, right? But there's a level of resolution that's way higher, I guess, if you're doing the modeling.
Oh yeah, it's like it's kind of like anything. It's only as good as the person that's using it, right? Anyone can go out and buy
Yeah.
a hammer.
Yeah.
I'd say step code is a hammer at the moment. Like, you can do a step code model, but and I think that's where a lot of the industry kind of falls down. Is like that does not make you, in my eyes, a modeler. Like that's
No,
very
no, it's low
basic
resolution, right?
modeling. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why I think the ASHRAE BEMP is very good. Um, a lot of people don't like baseline models. I do like a baseline model because it does make you critically think about the systems and what you're doing. I think LEED has done a good job on that. I don't know if you saw the LEED spreadsheet for an energy model that you have to submit. It's super detailed. It has its own QC that it makes you go through. A lot of people don't like it, or a lot of modelers don't like it. I love it. I think it's perfect. They've done a fantastic job, and making sure that they get the review process down, but also making sure that you really understand what it is you're modeling. Where with the step code modeling, it's 18 pages. It's an 18-page document, the City of Vancouver Energy Modeling Guidelines. Great document, great system, great way of doing things. But it's also, what's good about it can also be what's bad about it. And what's bad about it is it breeds this new level of modeler that doesn't really understand how detailed HVAC systems work. It's based around the building envelope. It's based around very simple residential and commercial office mechanical systems, but nothing in there for control sequences, nothing in there for optimization. It's very much a technician approach to energy modeling versus
or occupant behavior.
Yeah,
Killed it.
exactly.
So, yeah.
Tick the box. And where it really falls down, I find, is, to my shock and disbelief, like they're not reviewing shop drawings. A lot of modelers don't like, we review shop drawings for all our projects. And sometimes we reject them as well. Sometimes people get upset about that. And then the commissioning and then the balance. Like, you're not going to hit these targets, as you know, Adam, if you leave and check out at BP. So many things happen after BP. Value engineering happens after BP. Changing equipment happens after BP.
Absolutely,
Like, you're having a hope in,
God, you must be the only
modeler
modeler in this country that reviews freaking submittals, right, and says that performance is not good enough.
No, there's a few others, but we're few and far between. Like on the healthcare projects, we do it, but we heard that is actually the exception, not the rule, which was kind of surprising.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but when you have these targets, like, what are you going to do? Approve equipment that's not performing, and then you're like, okay, you get on site and you don't hit the target, and you're like, oh, what happened? Well, the COP of this chiller wasn't the spec, and they changed this instead, and then it's the last time you can impact the design is shop drawings. So once the shop drawings are in and done, that's it. See you later. You're not getting in there.
But that's where all the malarkey goes on, right? I specified a Porsche chiller and I get a freaking VW. I suppose the only thing you can comment on is the performance the same, right?
That's right. Yeah. And then we'll also be able to give them the dollar amount pretty quick. So I think it's, and going back to relating to people, it's giving them the information in a way that they can digest the information. So if for a chiller, for example, you could say, okay, this is not performing, but that's going to be $1 million in energy penalty to you. Do you want to go ahead and approve this chiller? And then they'll usually say, no, go back and get a better chiller, right? So it's like giving them the numbers that they need to make an informed decision. And usually money is the best way to communicate that.
Well, it drives... Well, it points out the emphasis of actually designing backwards from the efficiency of the equipment, right? So if you know what its maximum capabilities are, and then you can drive backwards those operating temperatures and pressures, that then drives everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially on the healthcare projects, because we always want the reheat coils to be sized at around 120, 115 supply water temperature, right? So and then we usually do a pretty aggressive reset, below 10 C or 50 degrees F. We try and drop that temperature down to about 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees C. So your COP goes through the roof at that condition. And that's for most of the year in Vancouver. The average outside air temperature here is like 10.8 degrees C, So when you have the ability to do those resets, you have those resets in your model, and then those resets then get carried forward into the control sequences of operation, working alongside the mechanical engineer. Then you're getting into the commissioning, and then you're getting into the M&V, and then you're getting into the FMO. Like, that's what's kind of required. So there's multiple gaps in our industry, and it's just building in all those gaps is what Edge is trying to do.
So that's really interesting. I just want to double click on that, because At the start, you were talking about you were babysitting. I love that, energy babysitting. I'm using that, by the way. It's totally stealing that.
Yeah.
Energy babysitting a job, and there was a $4.7 million penalty, right? I mean, so there's a model. There's a load of assumptions in that about control sequence of operation. Then you get involved in commissioning it, and then you get involved in the M&V, and then the evidence is I'm either saving 4.7 million or I'm not, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what's good about targets in our industry, Adam, and especially in this day and age where there's so much uncertainty and lack of clarity. It's just like, okay, you've got this target, that's the line in the sand, and just go for it. So, we didn't do the modeling on that, but we did a QC model on it. Zenith did the commissioning on it, did a great job there. But the commissioning side is making sure everything's working as per the spec and the O&M manual and as per the drawings. What we found with the energy side is kind of like, I don't want to use energy commissioning because Dave from Peak that works alongside us will probably give out to me. But making sure that the meters are actually reporting correctly. So that was actually a big part. Is
calibrating them meters in space, right?
Yeah, and there was a lot of issues, and there still is a lot of issues. So I think in an era where we've got AI and we trust data blindly, it just shows you like even just a meter can be off significantly.
Look,
so
back in the day when I used to do that, I used to get the bat tab guy over say plug on that valve, and I'd compare it to the fucking water meter. It was never the same.
No. And then even just doing a quick calcs as you guys would do as well, like MC delta T, getting the flow rate, getting it off the pump, checking the pump curve. You have the time return water temperature. You can do that calc, and then making sure that it trends correctly as well is invaluable, right? So it blows my mind how we blindly trust meters, and also trying to manage the expectation from the FMO and from certain health authorities. They think, oh yeah, the meter's in there, that's great, everything's good. We'll hit our target now. And you're like, no, it takes a year to.
You got to tune that up, right? Calibrate the meters, tune the BMS, tune the building up. But just to nerd out a little bit more, I mean, what you were talking about there is getting the COP in a much better space by having playing with the delta T's, right? One, you've got to make sure that goes through into the control sequence of operations. And then even more importantly, you've got to make sure some asshole reads those things and actually actions it, right? I mean, there's a lot of balls potentially being dropped along that path.
Yeah, that's why we use the term babysitting, because you're literally there with the FMO. Like we went up to the hospital a couple of times. We're on site for a few days at a time working with the FMO guy there, and he was amazing. Absolutely brilliant at his job. But I think that's having someone. It was a guy called Tom Bailey on site there, like that. That's really interested, really experienced. Came from a controls contractor.
So you understood controls, how to tweak it.
Understood everything with regards to that, and just a good guy as well. He wasn't kind of precious about anything, and was open to the feedback as well. So I think that was instrumental in it, and just resetting the supply water temperature down. So making sure the reheat coils are sized correctly, because we had it on another facility, Adam, where they didn't size the reheat coils correctly, and then we couldn't get that reset down as aggressive because there wasn't enough surface area on the coil, so the leave air temperature wasn't warm enough. So then the interior spaces were getting cold, and they were getting cold complaints. So we had to scale that back a bit, for that project. And that we realized going through this process that sometimes the suppliers and the vendors don't have all the information to do their job either. With regards to AHUs, it's amazing the components of metals you get. And we had a submittal with 30-year-old filter technology, and we end up getting Camfil in there to give us a hand to speak to the supplier and say, hey, can you go speak to this guy and put in better filters so we can get better selections and get better performance out of these healthcare facilities,
Yeah, it's funny, it doesn't matter what it is. It's a heat exchanger. So the fundamental laws of heat exchange apply. Surface area, flow characteristics, log mean temperature differentials, all of those things apply. And when you understand that, Q, U, A, delta T, log mean temperature, how you can tweak every one of those elements in the formula to optimize your systems. And so going back to that, Q, the load, Your clients, how flexible are they on modifying the architecture and the enclosure to get that Q down so that you can optimize the U, the connectivity, A, the area, and the log mean temperature difference and to get those COPs out of your plant? You're finding them
Yeah.
more flexible and looking at architecture and enclosure?
Yeah, like on the residential stuff for sure. Yeah, especially with the Teddy target there. Ironically, on the hospitals, we do build good envelopes, but it's not a big, doesn't shift the needle on the hospitals at all. It's way
No, 'cause
more
it's an
on
energy
the
hog. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're just moving so much air
Yeah.
through the healthcare facility for clinical requirements and filtration
Right.
anyway. So it just doesn't swing the needle that much. Obviously, if you have a colder climate, they're going to add in radiant panels and they may go triple glazing to obviously, for thermal comfort reasons. But because you basically have a constant reheat load 24/7, 365. Like we've even seen reheat load go up in the summer because you're
down and up.
because well, you're, as you know, Adam, with the VAV, like you're cooling down to dehumidify that air, and then you have to then reheat it all back up.
That's a sustainability sin against good, right? Thermal over there.
Yeah, but the way the kind of healthcare design has really progressed in the past, I'd say 10 years, particularly working with good companies like Smith & Anderson, Stantec, Intraba. So, we're really capturing thermal energy in a way that's not been done before with regards, recovering heat from exhaust air before it gets exhausted out, false loading the cooling coils and the AHUs, and essentially, as I mentioned, it kind of becomes a thermal cycle for the hospital. So it's a thermal circularity system now.
It's a recycling game, right?
Yeah, that's all they've done. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
90% of our heating energy, 90% of our cooling energy comes from just heat recovery chillers and recovering heat through the healthcare facilities, which is great to see, but not good for district energy and other systems, but good for, long-term resilience and energy and carbon. So
The Edifice Complex will continue in just a moment.
Are you struggling with paperwork, spreadsheet overload, and project management? Then Blue Rhythm is the solution to help you. Streamline your commissioning and project management process. Go paperless, increase efficiency, and save money. Blue Rhythm is commissioning and project management software by practitioners for practitioners, adapting to your workflows and processes, and doing things your way. Blue Rhythm provides painless and fast onboarding by bringing your existing workflows, forms, checklists, and issues logs into Blue Rhythm for you. You can use their pre-built templates to customize your commissioning workflows. And Blue Rhythm can fully handle the transition from your current software platform. Blue Rhythm is secure, scalable, and reliable, backed by amazing support, and accessible 24/7 on any Windows, iOS, or Android device. Why are you still using paper and hard-to-control spreadsheets? Start your free Blue Rhythm account today at bluerhythm.com.
And now, back to the show.
On your recovery, do you look at cross-contamination at all? Is there any place in those designs you have to be concerned about that?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like a lot of the, type 2 and type 3 areas will have the heat recovery wheels on them, but then the type 1s and then the ISO exhausts, you typically dump them separately, but then you'd put a cooling coil on that exhaust and then send it back to the chill water loop and then false load the heat recovery chiller. So it's just hard to sometimes communicate that to the FMO and the controls guys because they don't get that you're using a chiller for heating. And when you said so, they're like, chiller, cooling. And you're like, no, like the chiller's been used for heating. And you have to like explain, okay, we're adding cooling load by cooling down air. We're like, why are you doing that? You should be just like cooling down your CTs and your electrical rooms. But that's a form of hydronic heat recovery that they're not used to. And then they want to engage the outside air economizer first to get your first stage cooling, where your first stage cooling is your heat recovery chiller.
Interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. I love hospital jobs because they're complicated pressure regimes and everything needs to work properly.
Oh, yeah.
There's no half-arse in a proper hospital job.
No, and the good teams to work with as well, right? So you don't put your B team on a hospital job. So you get to work with like really good consultants that are very sharp and know what they're doing, and good teams as well.
So let's talk about district energy. So we've recently interviewed someone you know who is like the evangelist for district energy, let's say, right, in your area. And you knocked me off my perch a little bit when you say, well, it's not for everything, particularly hospitals. So let's drill down on that a little bit. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I suppose as it relates to healthcare, because as I mentioned, the thermal circularity we have going on with regards to heat recovery shows there's just not a lot of load left for a district energy system to be justified.
Right.
So when you have that level of, I suppose, technology, and we've evolved over the years, we're not basically burning gas and then heating up air and then throwing that air to outside without recovering. Like
Yeah.
the industry has evolved now, and technology has evolved to the stage where, as I said, 90 to 95% of heat is just coming from heat recovery chillers, but by recovering the energy we already have. So hence the term thermal circularity. There's not a lot left for a district energy system to be justified, and we still have the redundancy requirements with regards to gensets, backup boilers, and what happens if that plant goes down? Who's responsible for it? Like, most of the lines we see where we have connected to district energy systems, which have typically been municipal owned, they actually hinder carbon, hinder sustainability, and hinder the client in terms of their costs. So that's just my experience. But with regards to healthcare facilities, so it's not they're not a good basically building demographic for district energy systems.
They become parasitic on your efficiency of your internal plant. Then is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then we still have to own, operate, maintain, and have the redundancy there as well. And a lot of the systems district-wise are set up to have big delta T's to reduce pipe size, to have boiler efficiencies. That's fine if you've got a residential or commercial office building, but healthcare is a different animal. We've got CSA requirements. That means our domestic hot water return can't drop below 55. Some of these district energy systems want 43. How are we supposed to get down to 43 Celsius return when you've got a 55C mandate as per CSA, right? And we obviously have to meet that CSA mandate over a district energy requirement. So that's why it's not great. We're sharing some data with the district energy folks on those projects, just to give them a bit more of an insight as to what's going on, because I think there's a lot of bad data out there. Like they'll hire a district energy consultant. They're like, oh yeah, hospital, great, brilliant. Yeah, this is going to be low hanging fruit. We're going to make a fortune off this and be able to provide energy to this hospital. And like they're basing that on technology from 20 years ago and data from 20 years ago, or even data from, other parts of North America that haven't discovered how to do this thermal circularity that we're doing on the hospitals. And, then you get into an element of distrust between what Edge is saying and then what their district energy consultant are saying, because they're like, well, this should be a slam dunk, and it's nowhere near a slam dunk. Like, we're basically just self-heating most of the time. The only thing that's left then is the domestic hot water, which is not a massive load. It's decent, but it's not as much as folks think,
And you'll still need steam in hospital, right, for autoclave
exactly,
and things
sterilization
like that, right?
and humidification as well. Yeah. So we're still not going to be able to provide. So this is kind of where I think municipal government gets in the way of sustainability, particularly when it relates to the aggressive targets that they want. The design has got to the stage, and the step code has got to the stage now where the reliance on district energy systems, the load has just gone down. And that's just the reality of where the building industry is progressing. So unless you have a district or a region that can add to that thermal circularity, or that group of buildings, or you've got waste heat somewhere, that's where district energy really adds benefit from a carbon and resilience perspective. But if you have a single building like a healthcare facility that already has these aggressive resilient requirements, that already has all these backup systems, it's just not a great candidate for those district energy.
Well, can you look at the power plant at the hospitals as part of the network? So instead of being a customer of the network, be a vendor to the network.
Yeah, we did look at that on a major healthcare project, and we could give that node thermal energy, but it was at a time, it was like probably from March to September, we could give them heat when we would be ordinarily rejecting to the cooling towers. But then we gave that information to this district energy provider, and like, no, that's not going to help us because we need it during peaks. And I'm like, well, we're not going to burn gas for peaks, and then also we're a healthcare facility. We're not going to complicate our healthcare operations to satisfy a district energy requirement as well. Ultimately, we're predominantly a healthcare facility. They need to prioritize.
Well, it's just a
those
mismatch in load
requirements.
profile, right? It's
Exactly,
just
Adam. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. It's just they just don't line up. Square peg, round hole. It's just it doesn't make sense. But again, going back to what they were told, because they always have to think, well, why do they think this is a good candidate? Like because they're using old information and they're getting, I think, bad information or obsolete information from their consultant teams.
Would adding thermal storage make that bridge, or does that become just too complicated to manage?
No, it's the hospital itself is like a big thermal storage because you've got 24/7 reheat. You've got 24/7 cooling because you have those reheats as well. So you're literally just false loading all the time and just bringing that across. Whereas in an office building or somewhere that has setbacks, Robert, then yeah, absolutely, thermal storage would definitely be a good contender there.
Yeah, thermal storage only works when there's a huge peaks and troughs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's usually it's pretty flat most of the year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, even electrical profile wise, like we do have some setbacks that we're implementing that make a big difference to that. When I say setbacks, we're just setting back the air, we're not setting back the temperatures. That makes a big difference. But because it's a 24/7 operation, there's not a lot of peaks and valleys, as you mentioned, Adam.
Yeah, no, it's this high standard load. The other thing I think that people don't talk about a lot in hospitals is a hospital to me is like a data center. It's mission critical, right?
Yes.
It's a bit like a casino. When you turn it on once, and the next time it gets turned off is when they knock the building down.
100%.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, people don't think of hospitals that way, and it always surprises me. I don't know.
Yes, same, Adam. We had one municipality there on a new project, and we were explaining this to them, and we're like, "Hey, this is mission critical. This is like operating rooms. This cannot go down." And they're like, "You don't have backup water, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do." And they're like, "You don't have backup sanitary and storm tanks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we do." And then they were like, "Yeah, well, our system provides like this RCMP headquarters and this." I'm like, "Yeah, no one in the RCMP is going to die if if they lose heat or cooling to their building. Like, it's just not the same level." So to your point, Adam, I found that kind of trying to explain that to certain folks. You're like, "What are you not getting here? Like, this is critical infrastructure."
I always say, imagine your mum is on the operating table and the power goes out. Are we good or not good?
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's it.
So are you considered a bit of a sort of heretic, an like a heretic? Like you come in with these mad ideas like, this is mission critical, thermal circularity. I love that, by the way. It's totally stealing that as well. Are you considered a bit of a heretic or oddball for this, or is it something people are open to?
Yeah, as I said, there's an element of distrust there because it conflicts with information that they kind of received, right? So, we'll share the data, obviously through the health authority that we're working with are happy to share that information. What they do with that information might be a bit concerning because maybe they might think, okay, we can use this on a residential project. And they're like, no, we can't. It doesn't work over here. So yeah, for sure. Like I think there was an element of distrust as it relates to we can't believe it's that much energy. I think that's what people don't believe because they're like, what do you mean you're recovering all this heat? And it's just like that constant cycle. They just don't believe it until you show them the data. You bring them into the facility. It's like, there's the heat recovery chiller. Like on New St. Paul's, I think we have 8 heat recovery chillers. So that'll give you I think they're 200 tons each. So yeah, like there's just, I think trying to prove to them or trying to show them because they've either got bad information or it's not their experience before, or they've read an ASHRAE journal or some other journal where, okay, this worked in this hospital and they did district energy for this hospital and then they did this in Europe. And again, they just don't, that was some of the responses we got. Like district energy is been done in Europe and, but
that's a rat then.
But yeah, so exactly. And it's like, well, we can't talk about other facilities. We can't comment on what they're doing. We can only give you information on what we're doing. And we know what we're doing works and is been done before. And we can take you to facilities where it's live and working and has been working for the past 10 years versus, okay, I read an article in such and such a journal and it says district energy works for a hospital. So there's a lot of that we kind of have to push back against. And again, they don't trust you because it doesn't align with either what they want or what the.
I can imagine you getting booed at an ASHRAE conference if you stood up and said, district energy is not really right for hospitals. They would start throwing things at you, I think.
Possibly, yeah. Well, again, yeah, it's if they understood the potential there, then they probably think the same, come to the same conclusion. But it's like, how do you communicate that in such a manner that people don't get offended?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But yeah. As I said, all you can do is show them the data and maybe take them to a facility, and maybe you should probably start writing some actually articles on it to kind of
You
explain
need
a bit
to
better.
be
Yeah.
sort of like talking about this publicly a bit, not a YouTube channel, hey guys, like and subscribe, energy, thermal circularity. No one's going into that, but something, LinkedIn somewhere. Again, I'm reasonably well informed, although I've been out of touch for a long time, but thermal circularity is a new word for me. The whole mismatch with district energy, I sort of get it, but I never really thought of it that way before, right? So I'm old as fuck. I'm 20 years behind you. So people need to know this, right? This is information that would be great for your business as well if you could get it out there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's probably one of the things that I definitely struggle with is like the day to day, and then trying to inform the public a bit more in addition to our staff, right? So, but also doing it in such a way that people don't get offended, which I find is kind of hard to do these days, right? Because sometimes we can be a bit brash, Adam, I'd say, and you say the wrong thing.
Because we're grown-ups, mate.
Yes.
There's a reason for that.
So yeah, it's trying to communicate that in such a way that people don't get offended, but also be open to, is there a different way we can do district energy that could help? That, always keeping that open mind as to what it is that you're trying to do and trying to achieve,
Right, let me suggest this. You should post an article on LinkedIn called "District Energy Sucks for Hospitals!" Exclamation mark. See how many people jump on you.
See what happens.
Hand grenade.
Well, yeah,
it would cause some robust discussions for sure,
Yeah,
which is beneficial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the way they've been done here, I don't call them district energy systems. I call them district carbon systems because most of them are fed by natural gas. So
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really the thing that's kind of hard to
Right.
overlook is, a lot of these systems are just burning natural gas boilers or having natural gas boilers with the promise that one day they'll decarbonize. And this is kind of what's difficult as a professional, because you're like, well, okay, we need to decarbonize now, and you don't have any active plan to decarbonize that we can see, or if you do, it's still going to rely on a considerable portion will be on natural gas. So it's like, how do you justify connecting a building to a high carbon district energy system when you can design something on site that's a lot lower in carbon?
British Columbia has a lot of hydropower, right? Which is green. So is there any move to electrify existing buildings over there?
Yeah, there is, but I think we're working with some folks at the provincial level. I'm working with BC Hydro as well. So BC Hydro is now looking for power and looking to reduce demand in certain areas. So I think with some of our projects where we've been requested to go full electrification, they said we don't have the power. So
this is the constraint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think we've done a good job of electrifying to a point. I don't think we've done it in a way that's smart, or resilient, or sustainable in the long term. So I think this is kind of where the policy meets, the utility constraints, and been smarter with how we decarbonize over the long term. So with regards to new construction projects, it may not be the best thing to go full electrification with boilers. I'll use hospitals as an example. Like, we'll have backup boilers for that 1% of the year we need the boilers.
Yeah.
But that's going to reduce our electrical service size by 20 or 30%. If we reduce that by 20 or 30%, that's one less generator that we have to put in.
Correct.
That has to be tested weekly and is burning diesel. So that's adding to carbon as well. So I think that's kind of where, go full electrification, tick the box, and then you're good. That's not good for the grid. That's not good for resilience. And that's not good for even try to decarbonize existing buildings. If I'm building a new building, I'm like, hey, give me full electrification for my new build. And then next door or in the neighborhood, I'm after taking all that power away from potentially decarbonizing 10 existing buildings adjacent to my property. Well, that's not what's good for the environment either. So that's kind of why we're chatting to BC Hydro, chatting to some policy folks, and like, is EL4, which is the lowest carbon rating of the BC step code, is that the smartest move right now? Or should we be thinking about things a bit more in a bit more of a smart fashion, and look at also storage, as you mentioned there, Robert, as well, right? To help them with those peaks, because the demand response program is based around a 4-hour window where BC Hydro needs that power for that 4-hour period. If we can do something to help the grid during that period, that's going to greatly help the grid as a whole and resiliency as a whole. But I think to this point, we've been haven't been very considerate for our grid and smart in the way that we've been utilizing the grid resources. It's just like policy said, go full electric. We want full electric. Give me my power. And we're not really considering what that actually means for BC Hydro.
Well, I think some people need to understand. Yeah, I think, sorry. I think people need to understand that if you have this fairly short, massive increase on our electrical system, that it shifts the peak loads, particularly in colder climates. Instead of being summer peak, now it becomes winter peaks on the shoulder sides, right? And now all of a sudden COPs become really important, and no one's paying attention to that, right? So if you shift summer peak to the winter peaks, and no one's looking at how efficient these systems are, all of a sudden, power companies can't produce it. Like, it's just not going to happen. Are people looking at that at all?
Yeah, they're starting to, but it's I think we need to have been doing it 4 or 5 years ago, Robert, to be honest, right? But like, we're starting to look at it now, because it's just been like decarbonize, give me all EV chargers everywhere. And I don't think there's been much of a consideration to per BC Hydro there. That's just been, kind of give me, and we're not giving a lot of love back to BC Hydro or helping them out, right? So I think we need to start really just been smarter about how we deploy these technologies. I think we've done it in such a way that it's just like grab, and not a lot of giving back to help BC
So
Hydro.
what we're talking about here is a law of unintended consequences, right? So like we're talking about with winter COPs. I've seen this happen. There was a 10-year period where I was going in and out of Lebanon a lot. And they have a 1960s power grid that just literally cannot cope. It's brownouts and blackouts all the time, right? The consequence of that is every job has 100% generator backup. So every job you go on, shopping centre, skyrise, there's a fucking bank of generators and loads of smelly diesel everywhere, because they're coming on 3 or 4 times a day, right? And that's the unintended consequence. So if we electrify all the cars, that new JP Morgan skyscraper in New York is 100% electric. JV&B did that. I know the people did that, including the kitchen.
Gosh, yeah.
Wow.
You imagine what that must be like? How did they even get the fucking power to that building? I have no fucking idea.
Yeah. There's a hospital that went all electric. I won't name the hospital, but it was 40% less floor area than our largest hospital, and it had a service size that was 40% greater to go all electric.
You're right. You've hit the nail on the head. Natural gas gets like criminalized, but there is a balance between power and gas, right? And unless we get that right, we're looking at a future of brownouts and blackouts, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what's tough to communicate, because if we say, okay, don't go all electric, it's all of a sudden you're right wing and you're not, you're not putting
the
on your
fucking stupidity of anyone who says that to you. I suppose they're revealing themselves to be stupid, so there's that, right?
Yeah, but it's also, if you look at what we find with certain folks that we talk to, we're the only ones saying it. So if we're the only ones saying it and bringing it up, then you're kind of seen as like the outlier.
You're the Cassandra, right? You're a Cassandra to them.
Yeah, even though if you're bringing pragmatic opinions to and solutions to it, because as I said, like, the hospital is a great one. We're only using that for that 1 or 2% of the year. The rest, you might not even use it, because our models are predicting certain things. Like, we've had a healthcare facility where it's like it didn't even use up to like -6, and like it's -9 as a design temperature degrees Celsius here for our buildings, right? So does it really matter if the gas is there and the infrastructure is there and it helps the grid, and you're burning it for a 20%, you're basically, your gas boilers are a backup generator. They're just a lot cheaper, and you don't have to run them all the time,
And it keeps you alive, right? Sorry, there you go.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, I mean, he's
excited.
We both do. So, but there is a a possibility here of putting in gas-fired power plants to feed these big customers, but do heat recovery off of that for district systems.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So there is a solution there. But
CHP, yeah.
Right, but then that takes a lot of foresight. Like there's a lot of long-term planning in that.
I'm smiling. I've seen so many false dawns with CHP. It's like, we're going to do it. It doesn't work. We're going to do it. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Base thermal load and a base electrical load. That's what everyone forgets, right?
Yeah.
You need to look at that. And they're always like, they'll oversize it. You can't oversize it. It's one of the few systems you're better off undersizing it than oversizing it.
Yeah. That's not natural for engineers, right?
No, definitely not. Yeah. But very popular in Ireland and the UK, Adam. Like, I'd like to see more CHP here, you know.
But again, the ones I've seen, again, I'm old as F, right? Maybe it's better now. But whenever I saw it done, there was always like, oh, I didn't think of that. And the whole thing just sits there not working properly. Then it slowly, quietly gets taken away like 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah, don't talk about that.
Just like, forget it.
What's CHP? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about it. But you are so right with the gas versus electric mix. That is a message that needs to get out there because no one's really talking about that.
Yeah, we've got a couple of graphics I'll send on after the podcast just that kind of gives a bit more context around it, you know, and just shows like the peak in BC with Fortis and the peak in BC with BC Hydro, and you know, that's the reality. They're the numbers. You know, we have to decarbonize right now with the infrastructure and resources we currently have, but then plan to have a long-term plan to fully decarbonize later. But this whole idea of like, okay, we need to decarbonize now with having no disregard for the utility grid is not a smart way to approach decarbonization, and it's not going to be good long term. As you mentioned about those generators, like that's what we're looking at.
That's
like,
where it lands
because
up,
if you don't get the power, then what are they going to do? They're going to put in backup generators, and again, they have to be on the health side. They're tested once a week for a bit. So you know, is that we don't want that either, right? So I think that's where we need.
No,
then
there's a pollution angle to it and everything, right? Yeah. But my son's an apprentice electrician. I am so bullish on his ability to have a big career and earn a lot of money. I cannot even begin to tell you.
Yeah, well, you should do now. Yeah, since there's so many people that are you know, not going into that trade, or we're not in that trade, right? So yeah, I think they're the ones that are going to be definitely reaping the rewards now on the trade side, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone said to me once, forget what's going on with decarbonisation. If we just electrify most of the cars like they want to, there's just straight up not enough power. End.
Yeah.
That's just it. That's without everything else we're trying to do with the buildings, right?
Yeah, and then also I think folks don't think of the downstream infrastructure that's required to get the power there. Like, oh, site C is there. You're like, you know, that power has to go from site C to your building.
More
right?
cables.
Like,
just renewing. Like most infrastructure around me is from the 60s and 50s. Right?
Yeah.
It's just bonkers, really.
Yeah, there'll be no shortage of work here, so I'm sure.
No. The good news is we're all going to be employed. I think I can say.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, definitely does not have to worry about anything like that, you know?
Yeah. Hey, we're kind of getting towards the end here, but Ireland seems to be all of a sudden, like in the last 5-8 years, all of a sudden, you know, where you guys been sleeping? Because you're producing a lot of good engineers. There's a lot of good philosophy coming out of your homeland there. What's that all about? Where did that come from?
We've got some good solid programs there, like building services in well, it used to be Bolton Street, now Grange Gorman, at the Technical University there. So yeah, pretty high failure rate when we were there back in the day. Probably the same as yourself, Adam. So
oh god, If I got 55 or plus on any exam, I was
But yeah, there's definitely some great engineers coming from there. It's getting tougher now with emigration in Canada, I think, with, you know, there's a bit of a clampdown there. So we're starting to see some issues here with staff, which is unfortunate. So hopefully that we can overcome that, you know. But yeah, like there's a lot of great talents there, I think, worldwide. We've got a couple of Persian folks working with us, and just a good mix of people definitely brings the best solutions is kind of what we find, you know. It's like working in collaboration with the different staff and different cultures here definitely brings a new lens, I suppose, to what we do on a day-to-day basis. Like we've got a guy who's a wizard at Python, and like he did some crazy things in with Python and IES that saves like a ton of time, and then
Straight up magic, right?
yeah, it's just like, oh, here was me renaming rooms like an idiot for like 2 hours with my earphones in, when you can just put in a bit of Python code and it just does it for you. You're like, oh wow, okay. So, and same with AI as well. So we've got an AI guy, Sam, that's helping us out with some things there. So that's an interesting space too, with the AI coming on board. So it's definitely going to shake things up, but I think we're still trying to find our feet as to how we can use it, making sure that you're still maintaining quality, but then also I find not coming across as genuine as well. Like you're going to be asked to check some emails and then it rewords and I'm like, I'm not using that. Like that doesn't sound like me at all, right? So
no, you can tell when that's been done. But the education system in Ireland spits out good engineers, right?
They do, they do.
In any business I've had, if I've seen someone with a building services degree from somewhere in Ireland, it's just no problem. Interview immediately. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
you're right, Adam. Because it's such a same with the UK as well. It's just, I think that's their dedication to quality engineers and passing everyone like.
Just the way the systems approach, not the equipment approach, is another sort of cultural difference, right? Most Americans and Canadians I've interviewed, they're very equipment biased, whereas Brits and Irish people are more systems based, right? Because that's how we do it, more hydronic systems. It's all about distribution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then understanding the fundamentals, like having a really good understanding of the fundamentals so that you can, I'd say, call it dancing your way around problems, right? Because we see problems as engineers all the time. That's our job, is to solve them. So when you have that good grounding from your university days, it really gives you more confidence to, do your job better. And, I still have my Bolton Street Building Services notes in the office here, right? Like Gather and Dust and Faber and Kells and all the other books like that are just amazing texts to have. And you refer to them, if
now and again, you need to dip in, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also building services is an applied science, right? And when you're dyslexic and mofo like me, that matters. I've got to be able to visualize it, otherwise it ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, same, Adam. Yeah, like you need to have the point of context there. Like I was terrible when I first moved here because, when we were doing drawings, you didn't think in 3D, like, back home. Whereas when I got here, I was like, okay, well, if you make a mistake, then the consultant is on the hook for it. And so I was literally drawing 3D sections to the side of my plan drawings to make sure ducts and pipes would actually fit, so definitely gave a new dimension to the pun to what you do,
Yeah, when you got a 300-pound pipe fitter shouting at you, it makes life a bit awkward.
Exactly, and gives you appreciation for what I think a good set of drawings is, because no one wants to produce a set of drawings and you're like, oh, I can't build from that, or that's not going to work. You don't want that embarrassment. But I think having that grounding in university, like measure twice, check once is, or say cut once is definitely ingrained into you, because I'm always doubting myself. And even like doing heat loss calculations before I jumped on this call, I was double checking and triple checking, like
just rule of thumb check,
just to make sure. It's just like, oh, does this pass the sniff test, and go through your calcs and making sure that it's correct. Particularly when you're telling the client to downsize equipment, you want to make sure that works.
I'm sure we'll thank you for that.
Well, that's one of the challenges with engineering, right? Is because one mistake in a calculation flows through all the way down to the bottom.
Particularly if you're at the fundamental stage, that's not rocket science.
So going back and I'm with you on that. Like several times I couldn't sleep at night because I would look at something and go, it's just not right.
Doesn't sit right. Yeah. 100%, Robert. Yeah, I'd be often up to like 3 or 4 in the morning myself. I'm like, why is this not working? Particularly in IES, because it does expose things that are not working, and you can't ignore it. It's really frustrating. You're like, oh God, why is this not working? Is it a software issue, or is it could be a fundamental system issue? And sometimes it's more often than not, it's like 50-50 as well. So also doesn't help that Canada is on the metric and the metric system, but then uses Imperial as well. So
I know that has always irritated me.
Yeah, I'm ruined now as an engineer, right? Because I'm still permanently, I'm always thinking in BTUs and aura values, and then like hydronically and energy wise, it's all metric,
Yeah. All right. So listen, we're coming up on the end. A couple of quick fire questions then. So my question to the business side is, what's your ambition for your business right now? I mean, you seem to have made a step change, right? Brought in a CEO, things going good. What's the plan here?
Plan is to grow to 50, but do it in a way that we still have the same culture and quality
Right.
that we have at Edge today. So that would be our kind of short-term goal. Obviously, we'd like to get into some different sectors and see if we can start innovating on the data center side. So kind of
Right.
are similar enough to healthcare. So we're definitely looking at that as a market. But yeah, like that's kind of the short-term goal, you know.
Nice. Well, I think you got a good chance of doing that, mate.
Are you going to hold on to your the shares? Or are you going to go public, or what are you going to do?
I don't know I haven't even thought about that part. I think I'm more focused on growing those markets first and then like see where it takes
Just
us.
remember your friends from the Edifice complex.
Sling us some founder shares before you go.
Yeah. I still have my Edifice token here behind me from the first one. So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
So my question to
what
you,
about the Edifice complex? What's the plan for the Edifice complex?
Hey, that's while there's interesting people out there, we want to speak to them, mate. That's as far as it goes, right?
Yeah,
that's the business plan.
Very good. Yeah.
we've been so lucky, Eoghan. I mean, you're obviously in the alumni here now twice, and Adam, when you were saying it's been 8 years now, 7, 8
Yeah,
years.
just over 8 years. Yeah.
Imagine that's what happens when you have a beer over lunch.
That's true. Yeah.
Hypnotized.
You guys have done a fantastic job. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Big fan of your podcast and listen to it regularly.
Yeah.
Top man.
And my question for you is, since the last time we interviewed, 5 years have gone by. If you were to take, one nugget out of the last 5 years of your life, what was that nugget that you would like to share with everybody?
Believe in yourself, I suppose, is the big part of it. Yeah, because I think a lot of people will tell you not to do something and not to take the jump, and you're not going to be good enough. You're going to fail. There's these other companies that are going to do a better job than you. Like, you've no business doing that job. I think having that belief in yourself is really important if you want to take things to the next level and do your own thing, and just believe that you can do it.
Yeah,
if
that's
you have
good.
the desire and the passion, I'd say just do it, because it's not good if you're I talked about some of my other friends that are in jobs, and it's not that they're not happy, but they're not career happy.
Yeah.
And they're dying to get out of work. Like, I love coming into work. Like, I love working on new things and working with new clients and coming up with new ways of doing things and solutions, and working with the people that I get to work with every day is amazing. If I was stuck in a company, I wouldn't have that.
And you're doing exactly what you should be doing if that's the case, right?
Yeah, well, you get to work with the people that you really want to work with, and share the things that you share and believe the things that you believe. So Simon Sinek's podcast was really instrumental to that. Start with why. Or if you don't understand people, you don't understand business, was his podcast that I watched over and over again. So that's a good podcast I'd recommend to folks. And he talks about like not trying to be everything to everyone, just trying to be true to yourself and believe in yourself, and then you'll get there. Or maybe not on your first venture, but on your second or your third, right? So
I think there's two things that people need to be taught when they get out of school and they're looking for a job, and that is, if you don't take charge of your direction, someone's going to take charge of it for you. And if you don't like that,
that's a great point, Robert. Yeah,
it's in your hands to do that. And I have found, like in my career, well, I was told by my dad that I was basically going to be unemployable my whole life. So
my dad said something similar, Robert. You told me to go into the army. Yeah. So
yeah, right. So taking charge of your own career, if you have that, I mean, ride that one, because that's not everybody doesn't have that drive. And the second thing goes back to something you said about wanting to come into work. And I have never felt any day in my life that I actually had a job. I am so lucky to get to do the things that I love to do. It's never work. It's play, and if you are lucky to have that, you count that as a blessing,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very thankful and humble around that. Right. So like, you have your tough days, but like ultimately, love coming into work and, doing the things that we're doing, because you're making a difference. Right. I think that's the big thing, is that if we weren't on that job, things wouldn't be as good, right? So that's your job as an engineer, is to make the world a better place. And that's kind of what's so satisfying, is that you're, literally contributing to decarbonizing and making things more energy efficient and making things better for people. And, giving them the information that they need in order to make an informed decision. Like there's so much misinformation out there, like having the ability to give that information to folks in a way that they can go about their day. It just makes them so happy. It makes them look better in front of their bosses as well, right?
So I just want to reframe something for you, right? That you've done well, you're very successful. I want you to consider your job as persuasion. Persuading people around you to do great work, and persuading the people you're selling to that you are the shit, and also persuading the market about thermal circularity and the balance of electric and gas, right?
Yeah, I'll be hitting you up for some tips on some LinkedIn posts there, and Robert, try and frame things a certain way so I don't want to upset people,
No, so the trick is you got to upset them. It's clickbait. You got to upset them like,
and then apologize.
District energy sucks. And then you can be nice and sensible underneath, right?
Let's have a chat.
Definitely. I'll be definitely leaving it on yourselves for a bit of coaching on that. If you don't mind. Yeah.
As long as you can take the inbound, that's the point, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Be passing off my LinkedIn account to someone else.
Jason, where are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There you go.
But you've sort of, I've known you since you were a young man, right? When you first go, you've really evolved well, mate. You've done well, but there's more to go here, right? And
absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next kind of chapter as we evolve for sure, but want to make sure that we don't lose the culture and what we have, right? So I think that's the biggest fear I have is, it just gets diluted as you grow bigger. We don't want that.
Think about it this way though, right? Just take the classics on Navy SEALs. They have no trouble attracting people, right? Because there's a level of excellence there that people want to be associated with. I think if you generate a firm, even a small firm, right, that has that reputation, people come.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Yeah. Thankfully, like we've got some really good people at Edge, and looking forward to seeing what we can do even better. Particularly with AI and things evolving with machine learning and stuff like that. I think it is gonna open up a new world of potential solutions that we haven't seen yet.
I think that's the operational efficiency hack that some people will crack and some people won't, right? And that's gonna be a difference maker.
Yeah.
It's a threat and a risk and opportunity all at the same time.
Yeah, very well said, Adam. That's all.
Anyway, but that is a different TED talk, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a completely different one. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, listen, thanks for coming on the show. It's been great to catch up.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, pleasure as always, lads. Keep up the good work, and thanks very much for having us on.
The Edifice Complex will continue in just a moment.
Are you passionate about the built environment? Do you want to learn from the industry's most inspiring, intelligent, and accomplished professionals? Then the companion to this podcast, Wisdom of the Property Crowd, is just the book for you. From Edifice Complex podcast interviews, this book distills the critical thinking, insight, and ideas of some of the property industry's most accomplished and respected practitioners. Each chapter is a synopsis of an hour-plus interview, capturing the takeaways and insights, including diagrams and images, to help explain concepts and ideas. There's also a brief bio about the interviewee and a QR code linked to the podcast episode for those that want to explore further. These are the mentors you wish you had in college. Wisdom of the Property Crowd by Adam Muggleton, available on Amazon worldwide.
And now, back to the show.
Big shout out to Eoghan again for being on the show. He's just got that. There's something about the Irish persona.
Yeah.
He's level key, but man, all the gears, it's like the clock in his background there. All those gears are running, and he's just an Edge. His company name Edge just says everything. When we had him on, when you worked with him a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
When we had him on, and he was just starting to grow his company, and he's got a vision for it, wants to go, and he's putting in people in place. He's doing all the right things.
He is doing all the right things because that's what I call engineer's engineer. He loves it. He's in the mud rolling around in engineering. He just loves that stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I was quite impressed that to grow his business, he sort of got himself out of the way and brought in a CEO.
That's big.
That's a hard thing to do, right? Because your business becomes your identity, and it's all about you. And he was smart enough to know that his strength is the engineering, not the growing a business part. And that takes a level of maturity and self-awareness that, frankly, most people just don't have.
Well, no, and that's why you see small businesses stay small business
Yep,
because
it's
they
exactly
can't get
why.
out of the way.
Yeah,
You know, but their sense of security is the fact that they are the technician
yeah.
and they can get up and they can do the number crunching, but the business side of it then suffers. Like you get to a point where you can't do both, right?
You can't do both. And you get to so once you go over 10, 15, 20 people, you can't do both. There's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, no.
And you become a bottleneck at that point, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really impressed when I saw that unfold, and I thought, oh, this is actually going to go somewhere. This is interesting. So
Yeah.
kudos to him on that, right? Because that takes a mature mindset. I did like some of the things he came out with though. Energy babysitting. I so love that.
That's so true, man. Yeah.
Because also there's that proof of concept, right? So that what he's talking about there is I modeled the job, I watched it be constructed, I got involved in commissioning it, I got involved in verifying the performance, and thank the Lord, it was okay.
Yeah. He also threw out a term that you really attached yourself to.
Thermal circularity.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, because when I was at Cobalt, when he was there, we used to do a lot of talking to architects about, the R's, reclaim, recycle. And that recycling energy is sort of like the problem with sustainability and energy efficiency in general is the stuff that really works, it's just not sexy. It's like great glazing, great envelope,
Yeah.
recycling coils, recycling.
Yeah.
It all looks just like a normal building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that whole recycling, it is a game of recycling energy, right? And particularly with a hospital, it's such an energy hog. It's such a big standing load, 24/7. Hospitals, data centers, casinos, they're all just big standing loads. So it is a game of recycling, right?
Yeah.
And
People need to understand that for most approaches, you put mechanical systems into buildings.
Yeah.
But when it comes to hospitals, you're actually putting a building around a mechanical system or an energy system,
Very well put. Yeah.
And so that's why the internals, the power, because think about it, right? You've got security, communication, power, heat, cooling, ventilation, decontamination. You're dealing with biohazards,
Infection control.
Yeah. You've got gases in each of the rooms, oxygen, pressurized systems, things that go boom in the night.
Yeah. Steam, autoclaves, just the whole.
Imagine the laundry systems alone, just to do laundry in a hospital. You're talking about scale that, that's why when I look at these buildings, you're actually putting a building around these systems as opposed to putting systems
you
into
are
a
absolutely
building.
right. There's an argument for the MEP people to be the lead designers on these buildings. It never doesn't happen, but that should. But whenever I hear the word green hospital, green day center, it does make me laugh, right? 'Cause you and I know what goes on in these things. It is like an oxymoron, right? It's just not possible. It is how less bad can you make it is what you're talking about, right?
Totally. And and that says a lot about Eoghan, right? And his team at Edge, because when you start taking on projects like that, like you're jumping into a ring that most people would just they would run.
Also, when you're designing a hospital, it's a bit like a casino. If you really cock it up, something bad will happen to you. People are coming for you. Insurance people are coming for you. Lawyers are coming for you. Right? And it will be as expensive as hell. So you have to be right. Rule of thumb doesn't work in hospitals. Just doesn't. No. So I like that. No. He understands that. I think he's a very underutilized communicator for this, though, because what he was talking about there, that whole balance of electricity versus natural gas. There's an optimal balance there. Let's not be like an evangelist or a left wing or right, but it's just there is an optimal balance there, which needs some modeling and engineering to get to. It's not right or wrong. Every building needs that thing, right? But no one talks about that. He's the first
No.
person I've ever heard talk about that.
Yeah. He reminds me of this guy that crossed my radar screen many, many years ago. Tim Farrell was his name. And Tim used to work on big equipment, road equipment, right? All the big cats and the graders. And he just happened to also have the skill sets that his employer said, well, you should be a mechanical engineer. So they actually helped him get his mechanical engineering degree. And then he also became a pilot. And if he didn't crash it once, his plane, twice, 3 times the guy crashes and survives every one of them. Anyways, we meet in Ottawa it was for a district energy conference. And Tim and I and a few other people stayed out probably a little bit too late that night.
Then he flew home.
No, well, he had to give a lecture the next morning, right? So, which was basically almost the time we got home. He was getting up to go to the lecture. Anyways, I sat as alert as I possibly could. And if that guy didn't give the best presentation of the conference, because he was a mechanic and he was an engineer and he was a survivor and he didn't pull any punches. He told it just, and Eoghan reminds me, the two of them, they just seem like they're cut from the same cloth, that, we're going to talk about things that people don't like to talk about, but this is reality, and
and he could pull it together, right? So this is the storytelling.
Yeah,
this is where engineers struggle, that storytelling, communication thing.
Yeah,
this is why when someone's got something to say, some engineers in Eoghan's situation, they'd say what's right, and then they get barked down, and then they just right, and you've got to be able to come back and win. Not win it by being horrible, but win it just through sheer sort of like intellectual clout, right?
Yeah. Yeah, bringing someone to be able to see what you're seeing as a skill,
Yeah, absolutely.
And like he said, like when I asked him, I said, like, what'd you learn in the last 5 years? And he said, like, believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So having that confidence and that knowledge and that skill and that ability is really important. And then when you're faced with a client who's struggling to understand, you have to sort of say, well, what communication skills do I need right at this moment to bring this person in to see what I'm seeing? And that's hugely valuable.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you and I have talked about before, the soft skills, And,
it is. This is the thing. This is why both Owen and Samson, right? They've got a lot to say. They need to become great communicators and persuaders, right? Their goal is to persuade people to that view that they see. So few engineers are good at that.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the difference between like a beast and a normal engineer, right? It's someone who can take that. Peter Runz is a great example of that. Right? He's famous for like just beating you to death till you agree with him on once, right? Verbally, I'm saying.
But he's got confidence and he's got success on his story, on his back, on his shoulders.
Yeah, he knows his subject, right?
He knows his subject, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to listen to what he has to say because, he's right in a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of engineers that struggle, that they have the knowledge and they can see the problems, but they just can't get the words out in a way that people will buy into.
And then it sort of defaults back to, well, I've got a degree and I'm a licensed engineer, look at my ring, and then everyone goes, oh, fuck off. I've had someone do that to me in a meeting, because they were sort of like stuck for words, and that's what they pulled. I just fucking started laughing. But again, this is the entitlement. This is where sort of licenses and high-level degrees, they can sort of kid you into thinking you're better than you are, right?
Yeah.
You still got to be able to get that point across and have people buy into it. Otherwise, you're not designing anything, right?
Yeah.
And that's a key message, actually, that people need to take on board. If you want to be a great engineer and actually change things, you've got to be able to convince people what you're doing is right, without beating them to death, I'm better than you type approach, which is where most people land.
Yeah, you're better off taking the position of, listen, I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And I recognize there's lots of stories. Mine may not be the story that goes on, but this is my experience and this is where I'm coming from, and acknowledging your own place in the world is really important.
But also, I did feel a bit old because I first met Owen when he came over from Ireland, right? And he was just a young grad in our office. And I remember having a coffee with him. Oh, he's a great guy, And then he was the energy modeling guy, and now he's like 20 years old. He's got his own business and he's doing well. Fucking hell, where has that time gone?
Right? Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got grey beard now.
I know. I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. It was.
He's the engineering Wolverine going on there. But yeah, I went for a little bit of a pity party for about 30 seconds. I was thinking, fucking hell, how old am I? I remember everybody was like... Anyway, it's all good. It's all good. He's doing well, man. That guy's doing well. Good for him because he deserves it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, shout out to Owen.
Shout out to Owen
for
and
coming back on.
All right, man. I'll see you on the next one.
All right, Adam. Cheers, bud.
Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to the Edifice Complex podcast with Adam Muggleton and Robert Bean. See you next time.